1973, a woman scolds a ward boy for stealing food. This woman is Aruna Shangbang, a nurse from New Delhi, India. She was paralyzed from a brutal rape. That boy sodomized and choked her with a chain for 11 hours. Unfortunately, she survived. She has not spoken and she has not walked in 37 years. She has irreversible brain damage. In 1983 in Missouri, Nancy Cruzan, a 25-year-old, crashed while driving on an icy road. She landed face down in a ditch where she suffocated. She is now in a permanent coma. According to the New York Times, for almost 8 years, her body was rigid and her feet and hands contracted and bent. She had occasional seizures and vomited. And while her eyes sometimes moved and opened, she showed no signs of recognizing her family. After a month after the accident, the feeding tube was implanted in Miss Cruzan's stomach to allow her to receive nourishment. The term euthanasia is actually an English language version of a Greek phrase, euthanatos, meaning well death, or dying without pain. Dictionaries define euthanasia as an act or method of causing death painlessly, or the practice of killing individuals who are hopelessly sick or injured for reasons of mercy. There are two forms of euthanasia, passive and active. Passive euthanasia has been recognized in the medical community. It involves removing extraordinary life support and letting the patient take the normal course of death. Active euthanasia is a lot more controversial. It involves the direct killing of a patient from an act of kindness. Euthanasia is more than just ending suffering. It's about the quality of life. Some persist that pain plays a significant factor and clouds the minds of the drugged individuals, but that is not always the case. Many also claim that euthanasia will create a slippery slope where doctors will euthanize at will. What is quality of life for you? Is it making food for your kids or tucking them in bed? Does it involve running around every afternoon? For me, it's kissing my wife, working, or being able to walk down the street. Nancy Cruzan was once a daughter and a wife, but not anymore. She is a body on a bed. Nancy will never say goodnight to her parents. Nancy can't even acknowledge them. She will never kiss her husband, and she will never utter the words, "I love you." Nancy Cruzan was bedridden for 8 years. She occasionally vomited and had seizures. She ate through a tube. How can we stand idle while people like her suffer every single day? Dr. Bernard, a cardiac surgeon at Cape Town Medical School in South Africa, who practices euthanasia, once said, "Is it the mere presence of the beating heart and respiratory movements? Or is it something more complex? I have not the faintest doubt that when God created man in his own image and breathed life into him, he had a different concept of the meaning of life than the drug-saturated, pain-crazed patient who may not feel pain, but feels no contact with reality either. Or the thrashing around in a sweat-soaked bed of a body whose mind is darkened in agony, its only reaction being the purely animal one of trying to escape pain. What is life for you? I have no doubt in my mind that you don't see life this way. Does your quality of life involve pain every single second? The opposition will argue that pain clouds the minds of those requesting euthanasia. But a study in the Netherlands, where euthanasia is legal, says the contrary. A 1996 update of the comprehensive and rigorous 1991 Remlich report on euthanasia practices in the Netherlands revealed that in only 32% of all cases did pain play a role in requesting euthanasia. But pain did not play the sole reason for requesting euthanasia. A study of patients in nursing homes in the Netherlands revealed that pain was among the reasons for requesting physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia in only 29% of cases, and was the main reason in only 11%. A study of physicians in Washington State who admitted to having received patients for physician-assisted suicide or euthanasia revealed that severe pain played a role in only about 1/3 of the requests. What is pain and what is inhumane? What do you think? Do you think that starvation and dehydration is painful and inhumane? Terry Schiavo, Luna Inglaro, and Anthony Bland might not be common names, but they died within 2 weeks after doctors removed a feeding tube from starvation. It took Nancy Cruzan 12 days to die from starvation. How is this more humane? How is it right to end a human's life this way, when it could have painlessly been euthanized? Another question might be, how do we know that it is the patient's request and not the will of the doctor? Many argue that a slippery slope is possible, that doctors will euthanize at will, and that it is difficult to ensure euthanasia is voluntary. Let's head back to the Netherlands. Under Dutch law, a doctor must diagnose the illness as incurable, and the patient must have full control of his mental faculties. The patient must voluntarily and repeatedly request the procedure, and another doctor must provide a written opinion agreeing with the diagnosis. After the death, a commission, made up of a doctor and a jurist, and an ethical expert also required to verify that the requirements for euthanasia has been met. With these requirements and guidelines, how is it possible to euthanize at will? Doctors would be prosecuted left and right. Enacting a law with guidelines will deter doctors from willingly euthanizing at will. A 2005 study by the New England Journal of Medicine found only a minimal number of cases, 0.4%, in which there was an ending of life without the explicit request by the patient. The study concluded that the rate had actually been cut in half since the euthanasia law was passed. I find our concept of the proper way to die illogical and hypocritical. We state the whole life is valued and should be protected, even though we live in a country where we fight and protest and stand up for our rights. We choose life-ending choices every day because it is our right. At the young age of 16, we can get behind the wheel of a car. At 18, we can pick up a pack of cigarettes and enlist in the military. At 21, we can start drinking alcohol. All of these actions can cause death, whether it is a long-term, slow effect of the products or an instant death, like a car crash or a bullet. These are all the things we are given as an option to choose every day of our lives. According to the CDC, an estimated 443,000 people die prematurely from smoking or exposure to secondhand smoke. Another 80,000 deaths can be attributed to excessive alcohol use. And 180,000 people die from car-related injuries every year. We send young, healthy men and women to war to fight for a cause a few hold true. A refusal to fight could result in jail or the death penalty. Men who kill more than others are rewarded and welcomed home as heroes. I'm immensely proud to have these rights. I joined the military knowing that one day I could go to war and die for my country. I'm not saying our right to choose should be taken. I'm saying we should have the right to choose how we die. When I'm too doped up to remember my name, when my pain is so debilitating, I have more drugs than blood running through my veins, when I can't even wake up. Euthanasia is not something to be taken lightly. Euthanasia should be left to the individual or family member when their life has been so impacted they can't wake up. If there is nothing you take from my speech today, I just want you to ask yourself, how do you want to die?